we had a pretty close friend of the band's just go on this wild journey of self-discovery and through hallucinogenic drugs and just kind of like really diving deep into the occultism and esoteric wisdom and just really sort of looking for the meaning to life, and those perennial questions like who are we, where do we come from, why are we here, where are we going.
Today on the show, we are joined with Nick from Job for a Cowboy. After a 10-year hiatus, they are finally back. And oh my God, the discovery I had in this interview after I asked him about that decade-long break. Was it planned? Is it part of a concept album? You're going to find out in this talk today and around hearing all the details around their latest album, Moon Healer, which is coming out tomorrow if you're listening to this episode brand new, February 23rd. When we touch on the message, the meaning behind this album, we kind of spiral into this beautiful talk about hallucinogenics, esoteric wisdom, self-discovery, DMT, ayahuasca, iboga, and goddamn, this was such a fun chat. And you're gonna hear all that right now.
What up, what up, what up?
Yo, what's happening, Nick, man?
How you doing, dude? What's going on?
Oh, great, man. Very great to meet you. Excited for this little hang we're going to have. And
yeah, likewise, man. Got that proper green screen going, brother.
Yeah. People can meme me or whatever.
Oh, of course, man. Yeah, that's awesome. I have one down at my other studio, but I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I don't usually use the green for these interviews, but my house is messy, so I just kind of like...
Yeah, that's what I wanted to cover mine up with, too. I was just like, oh, shit, I got all my stuff. So, okay, whatever, fuck it.
It's such a handy tool for that. But, yeah, anyways, I guess I'll just jump right into it, too.
Sure, man.
I'm loving the reaction of all these new tracks you guys have been putting out, and
cool.
Almost just because I believe you guys are just such pioneers for an era of extreme metal. And I noticed like kind of the reaction from my friends who indulge in that kind of music when they saw like a single pop up recently. It was like pure excitement. Or if I told one of them, I'm like, oh, have you heard the new Job for a Cowboy? They're like, oh my God, what? Like, really? Like, I got to check this out right fucking now.
Sweet.
Like, no way. So I kind of want to know, like, just on behalf of the people who are excited that you guys are back, what was the reason for the 10-year hiatus, and what kind of brought you guys all back as a band?
Sure. So we kind of decided that we wanted to have the next record come out exactly 10 years after Moon Healer. And so we were like, oh, but we'd have to like break up as a band, you know? Yeah. And everybody was like, it's fucking worth it, dude. So we just all broke up. And Johnny decided to be like, okay, well, if we're not going to do the band, I'm going to have a couple kids, get married, go to school, graduate, do some crazy coding for some company. Tony's like, I'm going to move to fucking Ireland then and become a medical doctor. And he did that, and he got married. And then Al got married and moved to New Hampshire, where he worked in, he got really into Orange is the New Black. And so he just really got inspired to go work in the correctional facilities and became a CO. And that's all real.
Wow, that's such cool lore. And I had no idea that you guys actually planned to be like, okay, we're going to take 10 years off and do this. Because obviously with the titles of the album, where it's, I believe, Sun Eater and now Moon Healer,
right?
Like they, on paper, they seem like they connected. But like, again, the planning, I had no fucking idea. And that kind of blows my mind. And it's cool to hear your branching paths and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It was cool and it was fun to just know that you were going to be doing something that was going to connect over such a long time frame. Just thinking about art in such a vast like distance, such a vast swath of time is kind of crazy. Our concept of time passing is always being adjusted every day by if you even just think of your age relative to 1 year, right? Like when you're 4 years old, your birthday takes 25% of your life. to come back around again. Well, 20%, for your fifth birthday. But when you're 40, it's only 2.5%. When you're 80, it's 1.25. So you get the like, oh man, every year, your perception of time speeds up. And so like even though it does feel crazy that was 10 years ago, and it's definitely like, wow, yeah, 10 years. But at the same time, I'm like, shit, it's finally here. It's out. Cause we've been working on it forever, man. So it's great to finally get this to see the light of day. And, I can't believe it's, less than 20 days till it comes out. So
Yeah, that's so cool. And
yeah.
so would you say you guys were kind of like chipping away at this in the shadows, or were you guys thinking, okay, we're gonna like kind of have a fresh start at the 10-year mark? And if so, were you scared like some of the guys would be like, oh no, I got a whole new life now. Like
Right.
I don't want to do this or
It
anything.
was really like chipping away at it. So we knew like I had
Okay,
some of
okay.
these songs go back to I told people 2014, but I think when I checked my email, it was like 2016 that I got emails right after we played our one show world tour for Sun Eater in Vancouver at the Modified Ghost Festival. But I got emails from Tony with some of these songs that go all the way back then. So we slowed it like 2016, 2017. The songs were really kind of starting to trickle in from Tony, and we started getting serious about putting them together in 2018. And so then it was like just a constant process of refiltering. Like, okay, what if you change this, 10 beats per minute? What if we put this riff here? I don't like this riff. We need something to help this riff transition better into this riff. Because we did have we knew this was going to be a sequel to Sun Eater, and we knew it needed to be as good as Sun Eater. And so that was the pressure. Like, we didn't have the time pressure about like, oh, the record needs to come out, in 6 months. We didn't have that, but we did have the like, oh shit, this is, we did something for Sun Eater, and it was very well received, which was great. But for us, we knew that, like, I love that record. Johnny and I talk about like, I still listen to that record, and I don't really listen to my own music much. I think it's kind of weird. I mean, it could be kind of cool to like do it from an educational standpoint, but I love that record, what we did with it. So that pressure of being like, we've got to create something that takes what we did on Sun Eater, matches it at the bare minimum, but hopefully like goes above and beyond. And so we knew we needed a lot of time to do that. So we were like, all right, 2016 kind of is when we started being like, all right, let's get serious about this. Because then by 2024, we'll have a record done
That's
and coming out.
It's so fucking crazy and impressive, man. Like I'm just like, this is so cool. And even this morning I revisited Sun Eater and I haven't listened to it in a long time. And one
Nice.
thing that was going through my head, thinking you guys weren't making music for 10 years together, I'm like, oh, this really matches what they're putting out with Moon Healer. I'm like, oh, that's kind
Right.
of impressive. And I actually had a bunch of questions like about like, was it hard to get back in the groove that I'm like throwing out
Right.
the window? Because now like I realize you guys have just been working in the shadows, and
Yeah.
that's
Uh
so
huh.
impressive and like cool like to hear as a fan.
No, yeah, man. I mean, there's stuff right now for another record. Like, there's actually one track. It's kind of like a half of a track, but I loved it being the length that it was. It only ended up being like 2 minutes long. That didn't make it onto the record. That was my favorite piece by
Oh,
far.
interesting.
Yeah, and so like I was like, okay, well, now we get it, and it's like it's a perfect setup for the next record. And I
Mm.
think Tony's already cranking away at songs because we don't want to go. The plan is to not do another 10 years. The plan is like, you know, at the very most, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say 5 years. But
Okay.
but yeah, hopefully even sooner than that because I think everybody just had fun. We kind of finally figured out the groove of writing that way because it did take a long time to like. Okay, you write a song or write riffs, send them over. We'll program drums on it. Okay, then let's like see how the feel is. Now I'm gonna make some changes, send it back to you. It was like kind of playing football where you take apart the football and rebuild it and then throw it
Hmm.
across the ocean to each other. Um, so I think we've kind of gotten that groove down a little bit better now, and so we might be able to actually like flow with it in a much faster, more efficient way than it was coming from 2016. First kind of writing a record that far apart from each other.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it's cool to hear you like break it down like that too, because even like it's such like a high quality of production and everything, and as well, like so many different layers going on, and just everything's like kind of flowing seamlessly, like from like the transitions and everything. So it's interesting to hear you like explain like that part of recording and everything.
Sure. Yep.
And yeah, it's just like, so did you feel like you needed like a bit of time to warm up like to that style? Like I know you guys been making demos, but like when you started like finalizing things and stuff like that.
I think for me it was pretty seamless just because I kind of came into like when I came in for Gloom in 2011. Shit, that was yeah late January 2011. Um, when I came in for that, they had already had the music written, and they were like, "Hey, we got the studio time booked." Brent had left the band, and so I had like been immediately the first thing I did was to come in and record bass with the band. So I was kind of used to popping in and being like, okay, here's what you got. Here's what's on the track. All right, let me see what I can put to it. And so that's kind of the vibe that even Sun Eater we went with. I had written a few pieces like Son of Nihility, the dum dum bum 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 bum. That I had taken from their stuff because I had the stems, I had the DI tracks, so I took their stuff because that was like actually a way different part. It was like fat, it was double the speed on the drums, and the riff was a lot faster, and it was all distorted. And I took it and played with it and morphed it and messed around. So I'll do some stuff like that, but I leave a lot of it up to the studio. I leave a lot of it up to like once I get in there with Jason and we just kind of see like, okay, here's what the actual recorded guitar part is because that stuff changes a lot. Here's what the actual drums are, and then it's like, okay, let's connect the drums and the guitars in a way that's like vocal, kind of like I think about it with like vocal phrasing. So yeah, so I mean, for them maybe it was a little different. I know Al had a lot of stuff that he kind of revamped a lot of the songs. I actually like what he did a lot, but a lot of that didn't make it. So there's pros and cons to doing it that way instead of being in a room with each other where you can like instantaneously make changes. You can be like, what? Just play that 1 fret higher. Like you can do that in the spot instantaneously, and we can kind of do it with Zoom, but like because of the scheduling, when Al and Tony are available, like Tony's a doctor in Ireland, so his schedule is like very difficult to find windows of when he could actually like work on a Zoom call together. So instead, it's more like, all right, just do your thing, write out a track, send it over, and then we make changes that way.
Oh, very cool, very cool. And even like looking at your personal resume outside of the band too, like seems like you always got your sword sharp, whether you're just playing with other bands from
Yeah.
Cephalic Carnage,
Yep.
Havoc, Cattle Decap, and all that stuff. And I kind of want to know like what's maybe like something unique about Job for a Cowboy that brings to you compared to like all the other projects you're involved with?
Job is really the one where with my name in my bass playing where I can, and we'll see what happens with I don't know, maybe with New Cephalic or something. And there's a few Cephalic tracks where I have that kind of freedom, but I really have like creative freedom in Job, and just a very I would say prominent voice in the band musically, which is so cool. I mean, it's just super lucky to have guys like Tony and Al, and especially Johnny being such a big fan of bass guitar.
Mhm.
So for me, it like I really they give me the room and the space on the fader in the mixing room, to be present in this band and to be heard the way that I think cool bass guitar should be heard in metal, where it's like prominent and an equal voice.
Mhm.
So for I think JFAC for me really, especially Sun Eater and Moon Healer, like really accomplished that. They let me like speak and be heard.
Yeah, hell yeah. I love how like just stand out and groovy everything is too, man. It's
Sweet.
kudos for that shit. Like it's just
Thank
such
you.
like a dope vibe and everything.
I
And
appreciate
yeah,
that.
it's cool to hear how much input you have into it too. Like especially like since I believe Johnny's the only original band
That's right.
member too. And like
Yep.
over the years I guess like there's been like all these different members, and I was thinking about this today too. And I think what's cool about Job for a Cowboy as a whole under that umbrella, it seems like it doesn't matter what the lineup is. They all know the mission, I guess, to
Right.
like
Right.
what people who follow like the band want out of that project?
Sure.
And is there any like, I don't know, just keys to like keeping that successful like vibe going on?
I think it's like you kind of have a collective drive now that, especially that we put Sun Eater out and sort of found our sound. Really, I think if you listen to Demonocracy, there's some very cool stuff on there, but it felt like a band still searching, and almost like kind of like peacocking a little bit with the technicality, like being hyper technical for technicality's sake, you know. Whereas Sun Eater, we really kind of came into like what's best for the song. It's so super cliche to say that, especially in death metal, but we did kind of be like what's cool, like what is fit. Is it okay? Do we need to have 35 riffs per song? Can this part repeat? Is this part cool enough to repeat? Same with vocals, so there's a lot less vocals if you look at the actual word count. Johnny was able to say a lot more with a lot less starting in Sun Eater. So I think like that kind of essence, we knew we're like, okay, this is the direction we want to go. So even if we were to have a different, lineup change drummer wise again, which I think we'll probably would use Naveen again, I would imagine, just because he did such a good job and he's such a homie of the band, but that it was that central mission is always going to kind of be defined now. You know what I mean? Especially now, like the last two, it just really is like, okay, yeah, this is Job for a Cowboy. This is what we want to do.
Cool, cool. Yeah, and even like looking at Sun Eater and Moon Healer and stuff like the album artwork side by side too. It's so cool. It's like I'm like really into like that psychedelic like imagery and like layers of the universe like folding into reality and stuff. But one thing I never like really like dove into was like maybe like the meaning within the lyrics too. And are these two albums considered a concept? And is there like a specific like message or meaning going on throughout them?
So yeah, you've got this crazy kind of story. We had a pretty close friend of the band's just go on this wild journey of self-discovery and through hallucinogenic drugs and just kind of like really diving deep into the occultism and esoteric wisdom and just really sort of looking for the meaning to life, and those perennial questions like who are we, where do we come from, why are we here, where are we going, all those types of things. So, and this guy just kind of went on this crazy journey, or gal, could have been a gal as well, but so we decided to write about that. It's almost kind of like it was a stranger story as nonfiction than we could have even come up with. So Sun Eater was a bit more direct as far as like one-to-one with the character, what happens with the character in their life, and then Moon Healer is like an extension of that path with some real life basis, but we took it and really kind of expanded it way out, which is what we wanted to do musically as well. But we wanted to do that with the vocals to really get into like, okay, if this person were to go as deep down these rabbit holes as you possibly can, where would it lead you, and so they kind of end up in a place where it's it's like very opaque the way Johnny writes his lyrics, which I love. It's very open to interpretation, so you don't really know what happened. Like you could read the lyrics yourself and kind of make your own connection as to far as to what happened to the character. Was this a good thing? Did he come into contact with these benevolent entities on the other side of reality that help him escape the cycle of death and rebirth? Or is it all in his head and he's just fucking schizophrenic? Or is he just dead? Is he in the Bardos? Is he you kind of, it's really open to interpretation, but it's the same character throughout both records. And whether we kind of continue that, since I was saying we do have new music, whether we continue it into like a third record, that kind of remains to be seen. I don't know if we want to stick on with that. I mean, it's super fun and it's really cool, and we only scratch the surface as to how deep you can dig into all that knowledge. But Johnny and I dug real deep, finding this stuff. I mean, he writes all the lyrics, but I'm like, check this book out, or check this concept out. And we trade ideas and stuff, and so we may continue it on. But if not, like, it is designed so that it's like these two are complete with each other.
I love it too. And yeah, again, like outside of music too, I'm all about like kind of like into that kind of content too. Like I'll
Oh,
listen to
cool.
like a bunch of like Terrence McKenna lectures
Oh
and like
yeah, you
yeah,
got it,
obviously
man.
like you talking about like you know all that shit too,
Oh,
but
100%. Yeah, you should check it out. It's cool the way Johnny was able to take a lot of those guys. Like, I turned him on to, so there's some Rick Strassman, obviously the DMT, the Spirit Molecule. Um, and then this guy, Daniel Pinchbeck, you should check out some of his stuff. He's
okay,
got a
cool. Yeah, I
he's
never
got
heard of him. That's cool.
yeah, he's got a book called Breaking Open the Head, and then another one called 2012 Return of Quetzalcoatl. Where he dives so deep. If you like any of that stuff, he dives super deep into it. He's sort of a modern day McKenna or Leary to me, kind of. But I love his prose and the way that he, like, you read his books, Daniel Pinchbeck's books, dude, and it sounds like, I'm like, these are metal lyrics. Like the way
Yeah.
the way his alliteration and his phrasing and everything. I'm like
Even
reading
the
it like it's,
title of the book, Breaking Open the Head, I'm like, is this
oh
a
yeah,
Cannibal Corpse? But
right, yeah. Well,
fucking
that's actually
fire.
from this tribe that he went to. I believe they're called the Bwiti, and in Africa. I think in Gabon. I can't remember where in Africa, but this tribe, they have this stuff called iboga, and it's this root bark that is like crazy powerful hallucinogen, like 25, 30 hours, and
Almost
it's
like an ayahuasca, would you say?
yeah,
Or
but
yeah.
but probably triple, well, at least double the time of ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is like kind of dusk till dawn, 12ish hours, 14 hours. This is like 30.
Damn. So
Yeah,
you're locked in. Oh man,
yeah,
I just got a wave
and
of anxiety like thinking
yeah.
of
Well, if that
that.
didn't get you, like the it's not a pleasant trip. It's
Oh my
it's like
God.
this. There's this like stick, like father figure, like they say, it's kind of like a tree, but this stick like stern father figure that keeps showing you like your mistakes that you've made, all the mistakes you've made in your life on repeat, so that you learn from them for like 30 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
Woo. But so he went through this process because in order to, it's like an initiation right in the tribe to become a man. So
Mhm.
the teenagers have to go through this process in order to be welcomed into the society as men. And so the I forget what the term in their language was, but the translation is breaking open the head to do this
That's
process.
so cool. And even
Yeah.
like I hear like a common thing like with like heavy doses of psychedelics, whether it's like the DMT or ayahuasca journeys and almost like what you said with the iboga as well. It's almost like it's the healing from causing discomfort. It almost takes like all like the stuff you continue to force in the back of your head and
Right.
put it right in front of your face, every mistake,
Exactly.
every problem, and
Yep.
it's you'll go through hell, but then after it, it just seems like the post like effects is just absolutely life-changing beauty for people. So it's so
That's
interesting.
pretty accurate, and that's the thing is like nothing good comes from repression,
Mhm.
and this is just a way to like sort of, I mean, sometimes there's people that have such, you know, hardcore things repressed from childhood and this and that, like really should be doing this stuff with the psychotherapist, to like be able to
Mhm.
handle some of this heavier stuff that could come up. Um, but yeah, but you see that Johns Hopkins having its whole wing of psychedelic research and the benefits that they're finding, the neuroplasticity, the neurogenesis, the ability to you know significantly help soldiers with PTSD, or people like with terminal diseases to kind of come to alleviate the anxiety, that existential anxiety of death, and then puts them in a different mind state. So it's there's a lot of promising stuff going on with that, and that's kind of like this record has there's some optimistic componentry to the hallucinogenic use that this character uses, but it's also like kind of wrapped in like, okay, but also are you going crazy?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
so,
No, man, I
so it's like it's not all gravy, but it's not all bad. It's
yeah, dude, I love it so much more now that you're breaking it down like all these
oh
layers too.
cool,
It's just like
sweet.
yeah, so like I'm excited to hear like the full release coming out on February 23rd. And yeah, just even like after this record, have you guys been talking about doing some touring and stuff? Because we miss you out there.
Yeah, yeah. I've been trying to get the guys to do it for a really long time. I feel like I'm kind of the spearhead to get shit done as far as playing, because I'm the one that's like I'm in Cephalic Carnage still. I play still doing stuff with Havoc here and there, and I play with this band King. So like I never stopped playing music. You know, I that's what I want to do with my life and how I like making my living. And so, it's one of those things where I'm like, I have to kind of get them into it, that side of it, you know, because they don't, the money, even though the money offers are really big, it's crazy. But that doesn't affect, they don't care about the money. They're just like, I got my kids, I'm like, gotta do this, and I'm like, I totally
new
get
lives.
it. So right, but they had such a good time. Everybody had such a good time when we played Blue Ridge Rockfest, and so it was like, yeah, we need to do this again. It's fun to play these songs. So there's some stuff booked. I can't say what it is yet because stuff's not announced yet. But you will have chances to see this. It's not going to be like it was, where they'll be back in 3 months. It's like if you see a concert date and you want to see this stuff, you got to get the ticket, because it's not going to be the way it was. We're not going out 8 months a year anymore. So come see it. If you see the booking, go buy a ticket, even get a plane ticket and go see it, because you never know.
Hell yeah, I'm stoked. I know from like my friends again who listen to extreme metal, they're stoked as well, man. It's cool to just hear you break down everything like this, and knowing you guys are gonna be coming on tour again and everything. But just as we're closing out, I just want to thank you so much for your time and all this awesome info. I'm fucking stoked, man. And
very cool, dude.
We'll continue to share like clips of this interview like throughout like the release time, and hopefully on the next one, maybe if you do the third concept album, we can talk about it again.
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, and I would encourage you to check those books out, dude. Breaking Open the Head, 2012, Return to Quetzalcoatl. There's one about the DMT one is brilliant too. The Spirit Molecule.
Oh, I actually own that book. Yeah.
Did you know there's a 5-MeO version, different guy wrote, but about the different chemical 5-MeO, the one that's like on the toad, in the toad back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's cool.
That one's called the God Molecule, I think that one is.
Dude, you're gonna send me down like such a rabbit hole, because I used to like indulge in this like so much like a handful of years ago, and then I kind of like stopped listening to the lectures a bit, but still kind of kept like the knowledge with me. But now like you're just getting me back in that mode with like new books and everything. So I really appreciate that. That's gonna be dope.
Check it all out, and then read Johnny's lyrics for Moon Healer, Sun Eater, Moon Healer, and you'll be like, oh, I see what he's okay.
So cool. Good, brother.
Right on. Well, thanks so much, man. It was a pleasure to meet you, dude.
Yeah, back at you, man. And yeah, definitely if you guys come around Toronto, I'll be at the show and everything. And cool. Hope to like have another great conversation down the road again sometime.
For sure, man. Sounds good, brother.
All right. Cheers, Nick. Take care.
All right, cheers.
Once again, big thank you to Nick for this awesome conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I can't say that enough. Also, he needs to get commission on my Amazon order for the book Breaking Open the Head, which I have threw into my Amazon cart after this interview. And yeah, cool stuff. I'm excited for all you guys to listen to Moon Healer. Like we mentioned, the brand new album drops February 23rd. Could be out right now as you're listening to this interview. So yeah, check that shit out and stay tuned for possible tour dates, because it sounds like they may be coming to your area. And it sounds like these shows are going to be pretty exclusive. So like Nick mentioned, go out of your way and see them. It's cool that they're kind of keeping things exclusive, special. Speaking of things that are special, I want to thank some people that are special. All you legends on our Patreon page. Like always, we can't go without showing you guys some appreciation. And first up, the biggest thanks to Mike Carniello of the Testing with Mike YouTube channel. If you're into electronics, technology, how they work, and most importantly, how to fix them, check out Testing with Mike on YouTube. Another huge thank you to Amanda McKnight of Top 10 Nerd. Not only is Amanda the host of Top 10 Nerd, talking to millions of subscribers, Amanda has her very own YouTube channel that I can't recommend enough. Just type in Amanda McKnight on YouTube. Soak in some good vibes, some comic books, some video games, movies, and all things nerdy. That's Amanda McKnight on YouTube. Another big thanks to the wonderful Jenny Potter, the legend Devin McBride, our favorite soul singer Saber, and last but not least, Francis Coffer, aka my mom. If you want a shout out at the end of every episode and also get these episodes early, raw, uncut, right when I'm done the Zoom call, I just post them. You can go to patreon.com/thecreativeimbalance, and beyond getting a shout out at the end of these episodes and having my forever thanks, you can just go to bed at night and sleep soundly, knowing you're a badass motherfucker who supports raw, uncut, independent media. And nobody can take that away from you. You hear me? With that being said, we got a lot of new shows around the corner, lots of recordings in the shadows that I can't wait to edit and throw into your faces, into your ear holes. So expect more soon. Appreciate you hanging out with us today, and we'll catch you next time. Mwah.